This is the printing assembly out of an IBM Model 26 and Model 29 Keypunch. Now, I can say interchangeably here because they're pretty much the same thing. And it's a completely mechanical operation, converting the movement of left or right, up and down, into letters and numbers and symbols. And the way it does that is when we flip it over like this, I have this little section here which is free moving. This is the code plate. So this here is an arrangement of dots, or not of dots, but of little tiny squares, and each one of these have been milled into a strange cryptic looking pattern. And let's say you do the letter A. This is always in a home and rest position, but let's A is move the plate a specific number of millimeters. I don't even know. It's very, very fine, very, very delicate. But you move it down, and then say you move it to the left. And this aligns a large grid of pins underneath here with raised pegs on the code plate, so that when the machine pulls on this, it forces the code plate down onto those pins, and the print head over here would have the letter A on it. Now, right now, because nothing here is aligned at all, it's just a little bit of gibberish here. But it is a very interesting mechanism because this horn-shaped object here, this is the printing unit. And that is also the core of our problems. Now, cleaning the print head on this thing here is exactly the same as Tangents did with his dot matrix print head a number of years ago. There's a video here up in the corner. And you cannot see it in the resolution of the desk cam here, obviously. So here's a supplementary image. This is under a microscope. It is a tiny 5x7 dot matrix, and it's just a bunch of very, very fine wires. Each wire that you see here is half the diameter of a pin, just a regular sewing needle. And what happens over the years is that you will get ink that'll work its way up through the print head into this area right here. Everything from this point onwards here is just kind of oiled, and I guess you may get some ink in there. Curious Mark had a problem where these were really sluggish when it operated, and that's just simply because you have that oil is, well, gone, and you're having the ink that's really making kind of a sticky connection and rubbing inside of here. What he did was that he dismantled the printer, which is the smooth section right here of all the stamped metal, and ran into alignment problems later on. Now, this is a giant warning here. It's a amateur mistake, and I'm going to make it clear. I talked to Curious Mark about this. I talked to people on the IBM 1401 team. I looked over the IBM 1401 day logs from way the heck back when, and quite simply, even if you're a 40-year-old IBM technician, or you've been doing IBM work for 40 years and then you retired, you have absolutely no reason to go and dismantle the printer at all. Even to look at the code plate, don't do it. If you're going to do any lubrication, try to do it without dismantling the printing assembly, or you will be in for absolute hell trying to realign everything. There's one alignment point I can do, and it's simply when I reinstall the code plate here, this hole here, you simply drop a drill bit down, and that's your alignment for this here. I did not make a video of me removing this, did I? Huh. So let me go over exactly how that was done after the fact, because there's a couple things in here to keep in mind, and you'd rather not screw up some of these adjustments. So, easy enough. Assuming, even if you have the interpreter here, and you have this drive cable here, I'll explain those, you'll find 4 screws. Take out these 4 screws here. Don't worry about alignment because there's steel pins on either side. You can't access this screw yet, so don't worry about it. So you just get those 4 screws out and then put them somewhere. Also, of course, take off your ribbon retainer. Come around to the other side of it. You have this thing right here. It goes to this U-shaped assembly, and I believe if I can just bump it, can I bump it? Yeah, there we go. So that's part of the directional alignment of the code plate. you'll want to take out these 2 screws here. Now, a warning, this is dirty, and you want to keep it dirty because these are oval-shaped openings. This is part of the alignment of the code plate. So what I've done here is I took out 1 screw, verified their alignment. There's actually a scum outline for the screw, and there's a bit of a scum outline on the oval inside, so I can actually align that, and the same applies down here. But then you can take those 2 screws out. Do not clean anything because, you know, alignment, and this whole piece comes off. Underneath that, and it's buried down here, is this linkage here. And from the back of the printer, there's a metal rod that comes down, and it connects into this. And that just simply is what activates the whole imprinting, interposing on this assembly here. And it looks riveted in. It is not. You can pop it out from here, and that can move freely. And then you can wiggle the whole print assembly this way up, and then you can get it out. Your biggest catch is going to be this right here. Again, it is adjusted down here somewhere. Do not touch the adjustment. This should be pretty much solidly in place at the moment here. So we'll leave that the hell alone. And then you can take the whole printing assembly off and out. Now also, by the way, while you're in here is a good time, take off the interposer, clean out the punch holes, make sure that the chip agitator, as they call it, is cleaned and free moving. And also, while you're in here, you can now take out this screw. Be careful, it's the bearing point as well for one of the other adjustments for the code plate. And this drive cable here, I just put it vertical and then run oil down it to lubricate it, because you may find it is a bit sticky. Anyways, okay, so now that I've completely warned you, like, there's alignment things in here that you don't want to touch, but somehow we have to lubricate all of these pins here, how the heck do we do that? Well, you see this dimpled steel plate back here? This whole assembly back here is just simply for holding on to the 2 spools of print ribbon, and you have only 4 screws, 2 on each side, and this 1 clip here, it seems, that holds this all on here. Nothing else is connected to the printing assembly. So what we'll do is we'll start off by removing that. And I'm going to actually first remove this clip. And I don't think there's any washers under it. That just walks off. Okay, it does. Is there anything else that's holding it in place? It's spring loaded against that, so I'll have to take that spring off. Okay, yeah, that's free moving now. And now we can take those 4 screws out. I will take this side off. Again, I'm wanting to avoid touching the printing side. I think that's it, and it should technically just slide out at this point here. I'm going to flip it over. I don't see anything else contacting. Oh, okay. Okay, before we go any further here, let's put these screws in. These 2 screws have to go back in, sorry, and we have to take this side out because the swinging arm mechanism is shared. Take the other side out. So there, that one stays in, that one comes out. These screws are all the same size. You can tell with a lot of these screws, someone's been into here more than once, because a lot of these screw heads are a bit worn. Go. I think that just comes out. Is there anything clicking? I don't see anything. Where is that? There's that over there. Okay, and that's just going to fall out. And there, I pulled that out of the way. So this is as far as we want to go in. And now I can also see all the pins. I can even see the code plate in here. Doesn't look dirty. And again, we don't want to remove it. It's also shimmed. There's adjustments up here. Do not, unless you really have to, I cannot state, do not take apart the printing assembly to try and get at the wires. If we can lubricate this without getting all of this taken apart, we're good. We'll leave it at that. Okay? It's also interesting to point out the assembly of the, I guess we'll call it the pin horn, sure. 3 sides of this pin horn are aluminum, and then the top here, and I can scratch it even, is made of a much softer metal. And what IBM did is that they've actually, they assembled the unit. They had the aluminum casting made. They assembled the unit with all the pins in. They added this wadding here, and then they cast I can't even say it's a pot metal, but a very light, soft metal into here. It doesn't feel like lead. It doesn't feel heavy enough to be lead. So to get into here, you can't do that. It's now cast in place. So my goal here was that I need to get into all of these pins to oil them. Now, we could flood this with oil. I have no idea what that could do. I would say let's not do that, because you may end up with oil wicking into here, and you'll just constantly have oil weeping out of the print head. So instead, what I really like to do, and I understand some people gripe about this, is I take sewing machine oil and I put them into syringes. I mean, sure, it's terrible to be poked with a dirty needle, and it's probably worse to be poked with a needle that's full of oil, but these make amazing precision oilers. And my plan of action here is that we're going to get the wadding here wet with oil. I don't even need the needle for that, but I want to go in, and the needle can actually get me into each and every one of those little interposing wires from there. And because it sits like this, naturally the oil sits like this. Sorry, it's out of focus. It'll naturally work its way down to the bottom. And by the time it reaches the bottom, it should be thoroughly lubricated the entire length of the wire. And I don't have to dismantle this. So I need a light. And in this video, I want to point out that these ridiculous lights that are used for, God, I don't even know, like Zoom calls and stuff like that. There's a phone mount on the other side of this. They work great as desk lamps. I can actually change the color of this thing. It's really nice. There we go. I think color, yeah, the white balance is kind of destroying it on me here. But it's flexible. It's a circular LED. It's quite bright, actually. The brightness is adjustable on this one here. It's made in China, so it means probably everyone's designed the same thing. And it even actually worked with my stereo microscope. I can put the lens around here. But I can also now see, and better yet, instead of having to deal with shadows, I can actually look through the opening and see those pins directly. Let me see if I can turn down the brightness here, or the exposure. There we go. So you can kind of see things not totally blown out. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm just going to start putting oil on those little tiny wires. Well, first off, let's make sure the print head's retracted. Oh, wrong way. There we go. And I'm just going to, if I can go 4 in, I can then do this side and then work over to the other side. The other thing is also I can apply a little bit of pressure, and it will hydraulically force itself out into little bubbles, which then lets me get to each pin, and then just using surface tension I can transfer that over to the pin. And I don't even have to push on the needle to do this, so I can leave my hand free. Oh, did I miss one there? much oil there. There we go. And I can just blow this out afterwards if there's too much oil. Alright, that's that side. I'll go over to this side. I should only have to go 3 deep on this one, on this side. Can I get this centered better for you guys? Actually, can I zoom in on this? Sure can't. Sorry, folks. This is all about the best you're going to see. Well, you get the idea, right? Like, precision oiling this instead of dismantling it saves you, hopefully, a lot of time. Oh, I saw a drop of oil fall out. There's a bit too much. Okay, that's fine. We'll let it work its way out here later. Now let's add a little bit of oil to our wadding. Just to wet that down a bit. Okay. Oh, too much oil. Let me back off on that. Go there. Same thing over here. So I'm just adding oil into our wadding. If we're careful enough, we can go in between and then just allow the oil to work its way in. I don't want to add too much oil. So I don't want to hit the wires. Okay, there we go. I'll put that over there. I'm just going to try and mop up a little bit of excess oil. And I can see I mixed some there. And then we can exercise it a little bit. We don't have a lot of travel on this. Here, I can get the light out of the way now even. Oh, too much. There we go. And so yeah, you can now just exercise this. Oh, and what I've done here. So there is some movement now that you have this loose here, and the code plate's going to want to move around. Don't let it pull out. But if it goes too far side to side, you may hear a pop, and then you won't be able to turn it back. Don't panic. What's happening here is that there's a little tiny spring-loaded plunger, which is used for tensioning. There's one on either side. Just go in with like a pair of tweezers or something, push it back down, and you can slide your code plate back on, and there you go. It's fine again. That's all right. But don't let the code plate come out. And now I'm just going to hold it like this, and we can exercise it a couple of times. And that'll start to work the oil down the wires. But otherwise, I can see it resets and they go back in. So that's all right. Now, this is a good time for you to be cleaning the print head itself while we still have oil in here. But we do have to lubricate this. So there's going to be a bit of time involved with that. Cleaning this print head is not hard. I've already mentioned before here, like it's the same as a dot matrix. I don't have any way to really demonstrate to you how to do it, but the idea here is take a little cup, take a little cap, something like this, fill it with 99% rubbing alcohol. There's a fantastic way you can just allow this arm here to move to the side, and then I would just let this dip in here, and you can allow some of that rubbing alcohol to soak up into the print head, and then you can exercise it, and as you exercise it, you're going to have ink that's going to start coming out around the needles or the pins, and then you're going to be here probably for a few hours, because every time you clean them, and then maybe every time you put a little bit of rubbing alcohol onto the head here, you're going to continuously have ink weeping out. But the more we clean out, the better it's going to make your life. By the way, it's fantastic. This is so small that even if you use a Q-tip or you dip it in here, when you pull it out, this holds enough surface tension, it will leave a bubble of rubbing alcohol here. So as you actuate it, you're washing the pins as well. But I have already gone forwards and already completed that portion of it, so it already looks a lot cleaner than it used to be, even though you can't see it in this video here. But what I'll now do, and I'm going to leave it for a little while after this here, is I'm going to again take my needle with my oil. Because surface tension is great, I'm just going to leave a drop of oil on top of the pins, like that. And now, I may actuate the pins a little bit, just to help the oil start making its way down in. But what I'll also do is that I will take a paper clip, I will extend the pins to a degree, and there's a small gap right here. Take the paper clip, stick it in there, and then when you let go, the pins are still extended, but the paper clip prevents the print head from fully retracting. And that just allows you, oh no, unless it falls out. Oh, you get the idea here. Come on, where did you go before? Right there. That allows the oil to work its way down. I'll leave it sitting like this with the rag or cloth sitting underneath for any oil that's going to be dripping out of where we just oiled with all the pins. That'll take care of any excess oil in here. This allows any oil up here to work its way down. And then when we're done, we can reverse it by flipping it over, and any excess oil will weep out of here again and onto the cloth. And then I would say the print head is clean and functioning. And cross your fingers that you haven't really meddled with anything else. So I'll take this piece right here, which is still a bit dirty, but there is no alignments involved with it. I'm going to go clean this, and then I can reassemble this, and I can put it back onto the punch. So that is the more detailed method to oiling one of these and cleaning them. I do hope it was helpful for someone. I do hope if you are also working on a Keypunch that you don't run into the same pitfalls regarding alignments, because again, people hate having to realign these. And thank you for watching, by the way. And until next time, have a good one.